Alejandra, seemingly fragile with a waist-length braid and deep blue eyes, arrived in a sleepy lakeside town. Her goal was to blend in, become inconspicuous, and forget the tumultuous events of the past. The move was a necessary escape after her mother, the respected Dr. Irene Perez Morales, received an offer to head the local hospital. The new school, named after Sor Juana Inés de la Cruz, met Alejandra with coldness, stony faces, indifferent gazes, and whispers behind her back. She tried not to attract attention, wore simple clothes, spoke softly, and only wished to be left alone. But beneath this exterior lay a strength no one suspected. Since childhood, Alejandra had practiced Aikido, achieving impressive levels. Her movements were graceful, like a dance, yet simultaneously fast and lethally precise. Beneath her delicate skin lay muscles of steel, and in her mind, knowledge of hundreds of self-defense techniques. However, at her mother's insistence, she promised not to tell anyone about her skills. "Please, Alejandrita," Irene pleaded with worry on her face, "let's start fresh. You know how people react when they find out you can immobilize an adult with one move." Alejandra sighed, understanding her mother's fears. In their previous city, she was respected for her strength, but in the lakeside town, she was just the new girl. Trouble wasn't long in coming. On her very first day in the cafeteria, smelling of chlorine and stale salty bread, Alejandra quietly sat in a corner, flipping through a history textbook. Suddenly, an imposing figure appeared before her, a guy with broad shoulders, a shaved head, and a defiant gaze. Behind him lurked his two accomplices, Arturo, skinny as a stick with a crooked smile, and Bruno, stocky with a dull expression. The leader plopped down opposite Alejandra, crossing his legs as if on a throne. Well, new girl?" he boomed, attracting all eyes. "I'm Carlos Serra. I'm in charge here, and these are my loyal dogs, Arturo and Bruno." Alejandra looked up and calmly replied, "Nice to meet you. I'm Alejandra." You're from the big city, huh? Think you're better than us country bumpkins?" He sneered. She tried to remain calm and returned to her reading. Arturo snickered mockingly. "Listen, Carlos, she doesn't seem to get where she is." Carlos leaned in, his voice threatening. "Listen, girl, it's simple here. Newbies pay 50 pesos a day for protection. No problem, got it?" Rage boiled within Alejandra. That arrogant tone was all too familiar. She had promised not to fight, but remaining silent was almost impossible. "I'll think about it," she said evenly. "Think fast." Carlos roared, standing up. "You have until tomorrow, and don't even think about complaining to the teachers. My dad's a deputy, I'm respected here." After they left, Alejandra remained motionless for a few seconds, gripping her pencil until her knuckles were white. She could have resolved everything with one move, but her mother's vow held her back. Taking a deep breath, she opened her book again, though the letters danced before her eyes. That night, as Irene baked a cabbage pie, filling the apartment with its aroma, she noticed her daughter's unusual quietness. "How was your first day, my sunshine?" she asked, stirring the filling. "Good," Alejandra replied, her voice trembling. Irene looked at her, wiping her hands. "You know you can tell me anything." "It was just a normal day. I need to get used to it," Alejandra answered evasively. Her mother watched her for a long time but didn't press. They knew how to communicate without words. Irene understood that if her daughter was silent, she needed time. That same night, Alejandra stared at the dark ceiling of her room. Carlos's words echoed in her head. 50 pesos a day, 1,000 a month, 10,000 for the entire school year. She knew that people like him never stopped if they sensed weakness. The next morning, Carlos and his accomplices waited for her at the school entrance. "Well?" he asked, crossing his arms. "I'm not paying." Alejandro replied calmly, looking him in the eyes. The smile vanished from his face. "What did you say?" "No." He was silent for a few seconds, then laughed mockingly, cold as a winter wind. "Want to play tough? Let's go." From that moment on, Alejandra's school life became a nightmare. In math class, Arturo accidentally spilled a glass of water on her head. While she tried to dry herself, Bruno stepped on her foot so hard he almost broke it. "Oh, sorry," he said mockingly. In the hallway, Carlos pushed her, and she nearly fell down the stairs. "Watch where you're going," he muttered as he passed. But the climax came at lunch. Alejandro was sitting alone when Carlos appeared with half the football team behind him. "Attention, guys," he proclaimed for everyone to hear. The new girl thinks she doesn't need my protection, that she's special. Whispers subsided. Dozens of eyes stared at her. Carlos, please, she whispered quietly. I just want to study. You need to know your place, he replied, stepping closer. He snatched a tray with mashed potatoes and a sausage and threw it on the floor. The mashed potatoes splattered. The sausage landed with a thud at her feet. What a shame, princess! He feigned regret. The cafeteria erupted in laughter. Someone pulled out a phone and started filming. Alejandra remained motionless, feeling the sticky mashed potatoes run down her legs. Inside her, a cold and calculating rage boiled. What are you waiting for? The mocker continued. Aren't you going to clean up my mess? She calmly stood up. The mashed potatoes stained her clothes and left greasy marks on the floor. She looked at Carlos with such intensity that he fell silent. You crossed the line, she whispered. And what are you going to do? Call Mommy? Without answering, she picked up her backpack and left, leaving behind laughter and puddles of mashed potatoes. In the bathroom, she tried to wash her clothes, but the mashed potatoes only smeared. Her hands trembled not from fear, but from the desire to go back and show them who she really was. Instead, she dialed the number of her former teacher, Sensei Victor Sanchez. Sensei, it's Alejandra Perez, she said when he answered. How's life in the new place? He asked with a warm voice. Not great, she briefly explained the situation. I have problems with bullies. He sighed. I understand your mom asked you not to show your abilities, and that's logical, but sometimes silence only makes the problem worse. Guys like Carlos only understand force. If you decide to act, do it wisely, away from school, without witnesses, and don't overdo it. Remember, it's self-defense. I won't forget your lessons, Sensei, Alejandra replied. And also, I have the right to defend myself. It's my undeniable right. She pondered all day, and by the last class, she had made a decision. No more humiliation. After classes, she stayed in the library, pretending to read until most people had left. She wanted to talk to Carlos. Around 4:00 p.m., she went out into the yard. The asphalt gleamed from a recent rain, and the air smelled of wet grass. She knew Carlos stayed after school for practice. The new girl at school approached the gym and saw Carlos emerge alone. She called out to him. He turned, and a sneer appeared on his face. Look who's back. Came for another serving of mashed potatoes? He asked. I need to talk to you, she said, coming closer. He was 1.85 meters tall and looked imposing, but Alejandra didn't avert her gaze. About what happened in the cafeteria? She added. It was low. Yeah, it was fun, and you don't want it to end, do you? He replied. Carlos took a step forward, towering over her. Listen, little girl, I offered you an easy way out, pay and live in peace. You chose the hard way. Tomorrow, everyone will laugh at you lying in mashed potatoes. This is just the beginning. I have a proposition. A proposition? Alejandra interrupted him. You're not in a position to bargain. One-on-one, here and now. If you win, I'll pay you not 50, but 70 pesos a day and fulfill any wish you have. If I win, you'll leave me alone forever and apologize for today's humiliation. Carlos laughed so loudly that the echo reverberated off the walls. Seriously? You want to fight me? I've been playing football since I was 7. I can lift more than my own weight. And you? He looked her up and down disdainfully. You're skinny, so you have nothing to fear. Her confident tone made Carlos doubt. No fear, just a disturbing certainty. All right, finally something interesting. No rules, fair and square. They stood in the center of the yard. Carlos took off his jacket, revealing muscular arms under his sports shirt. Alejandra rolled up her sweater sleeves and assumed a relaxed but ready for battle stance. Last chance to change your mind? He growled. Thanks, she replied, not breaking eye contact. Carlos roared and threw a straight punch at her face. The punch was fast and powerful, but Alejandra was faster. She leaned back, allowing the fist to fly past, and in that same instant, she stepped forward. Her hands blocked the attack, and her legs executed a perfect turn. Using Carlos's momentum, she applied a classic katageshi from Aikido, twisting his wrist. Carlos didn't have time to understand how he ended up on the ground, stunned and with sharp pain in his joint. What? How? He mumbled, trying to get up. Alejandra remained calm. The first principle of Aikido is to use the opponent's strength against them. He tried to rise, but she gently placed her hand on his shoulder. You won't like the next move. It'll be harder. Carlos looked at her in shock and fear. Who the hell are you? I'm Alejandra Perez, she replied, crouching down to his level. I know a little Aikido, and that was the easiest. If I used my full strength, you'd be in the hospital. His eyes widened in horror. Why were you silent? I wanted a fresh start, she replied. Mom asked me not to stand out. I tried to be normal, but you left me no choice. Carlos, rubbing his aching wrist, began to give way. His reputation hung by a thread. You have two options, Alejandra said, straightening up. First, you fulfill our agreement, apologize, and leave me alone. Second, tomorrow I'll show the whole school what I'm capable of. What do you think your team will say when they find out their captain lost to a fragile girl? Carlos realized there was no way out. Fine, he grumbled. A reasonable choice. Alejandra gathered her backpack and left. Halfway, she turned back. If you or your friends bother me or anyone else again, I'll find out, and our next conversation will be different. She left him alone on the ground trying to process what had happened. Just an hour ago, he had been the king of the school, and now. The next morning, rumors spread throughout the school. Carlos Serra, the terror of the school and football team star, approached Alejandra in the main hallway where most students usually gathered. Everyone fell silent, expecting another scene of humiliation, but this time, everything was different. Carlos lowered his gaze and said, Alejandra, I'm sorry for everything I did. It was foolish and low. I was wrong. The silence was so thick it could be cut with a knife. Someone whispered, Carlos Serra apologizing? Is it the end of the world? Alejandra calmly looked at him without malice. Accepted, she replied, and from that day on, everything changed. Carlos and his friends not only left Alejandra alone, but without her asking, began to act as her bodyguards. If someone dared to offend younger or weaker students, a mere glance from Carlos was enough to make the bully retreat. But the most important thing happened a week later when Veronica Ramirez, one of the most popular girls in school, approached Alejandra with a small group of friends. Alejandra tensed, unsure of their intentions. We heard rumors, Veronica said softly. They say you can fight. It's true. Alejandra thought for a moment. Why do you ask? We have a problem, Veronica confessed. The guys from Cetus are waiting for us at the bus stop after school. They say nasty things, follow us, scare us. We're afraid. Alejandra looked at the girls' faces. There was anxiety and despair in their eyes. I'll help you, she said, without hesitation. From then on, Alejandra began to escort Veronica and her friends to the bus stop every day. The Cetus students, seeing her, no longer dared to approach. Then Alejandra realized that her strength could be used for good. She started organizing free self-defense classes in the school gym for anyone interested. Soon, not only girls but also boys came to the classes, wanting to protect themselves and their loved ones. Alejandra became a respected and beloved figure in the school. She proved that even the most fragile-looking person can possess a powerful spirit capable of challenging injustice. Although she still dreamed of a peaceful life, she understood that her true calling was to protect others. Some nights, looking at the stars from her window, Alejandra remembered the words of her teacher, Victor Sanchez. You have the right to defend yourself. No one can take that right away from you. And she knew that she would always follow this principle, even if it meant breaking the promise she made to her mother. Because sometimes, to protect those you love, you have to break the rules.